Hi everybody, it's time to show you all the pages I coloured during December of 2024, and I do have quite a few that I managed to get done this last month, so I'll crack right on and start with this first one. This one is from Mouseguard colouring book. This is by David Petersen. And this one was a work in progress that I've had going on for quite a while. I will pop up a screenshot here from my whips video of what it looked like before I started working on it. And I think I started this one using our teaser watercolour pencils. And I think this one was a work in progress because I couldn't figure out how to do the background. All those little details in the background, I didn't know what some of them were, wasn't entirely sure what colours to use, so I put that one away to the side. So I'll show you how I actually solved that little problem of not knowing how to do the background. And this is the page I coloured here. This little mouse cook here, and you'll see there I decided to colour the background just with a wash of brown pretty much. I give it a kind of a sepia tone in the background there just to wash over the whole page. Coloured everything in that brown colour so I wouldn't have to decide what colour to actually do things. I just shaded a little bit with the brown coloured pencils, and I decided to carry on colouring this one with watercolour pencils. I did bring in my Albrecht Dürer watercolour pencils, and what I tried to do was try out a tip I had been given that you could dissolve watercolour pencils with a colourless blender, and the one I decided to use was from the Ohuhu water-based markers that I tested out a few weeks ago. Because that set did come with a colourless blender I couldn't really figure out how to use, so I decided I'd try it out with my watercolour pencils. So I just laid down as much of a flat colour as I could on that background there, went over the whole area with the colourless blender, and it did wash those colours out quite nicely, give me this nice kind of flat background colour. So yeah, that is a tip I would recommend for using watercolour pencils if you do have a colourless blender for alcohol markers maybe, or something along those lines. You can use that to activate your watercolour pencils and get some nice flat colour. It doesn't tend to give you the nice kind of washy, blobby effects that I do like with my watercolour, which is a slightly downside to that, but it does give you some nice flat colour to be able to work on top of, so that was a bonus in this case. For the rest of the picture I went ahead with my Albrecht Dürer pencils, just used those to lay down some slightly brighter colours. You might be able to see there the colours are slightly brighter. Added in a few bits that I couldn't figure out in the background. I decided that these were carrots to bring in some nice orange on the side there, and I think it has all worked out really well. Something I do want to mention about this book though, that I figured out to my kind of cost really, it's really I'm not entirely sure how to explain it. It really seems to stick to anything that is sticky, if that makes sense. Because this page did have a little tag on it here. And if I zoom in, I might be able to zoom in editing there to show that this page, it ripped. The page there ripped when I took off the tag. So yeah, these, even though they're not very tacky, these tags, it did really stick like super glue to that page. And I did want to bring in some washi tape or something for the headdress or the scarf this mouse is wearing on his head there. And as soon as I stuck down this washi tape, which probably wouldn't have been my first choice to be perfectly honest, but as soon as I stuck that washi tape down, it was stuck. There was no chance of getting that back up without really wrecking the paper, so I had to roll with it and give him this kind of tartan headband there. Fortunately, the colour and the pattern are not terrible. They do seem to work in quite well with that picture, so yeah, I ran with it. I just gave it a little bit of shading with a darker red, I think, maybe black, added in the white highlights there. And he's ended up with this tartan headscarf, which wouldn't have been my choice. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make as I ramble there is that if you stick anything to this page, even if it's low tack, like a sticky note or the little page tags, it will stick like super glue. So yeah, I'm not sure if that's the same with every copy of this book, but definitely with this copy of the book. So yeah, that is the first page that I did colour this month, just to finish off a work in progress there. So that one is from the Mouseguard colouring book by David Petersen. The next one is also a work in progress that I did go ahead and finish off. This one is from the Circle of Life by Melpomeni Chatzipanagiotu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, this one was also a work in progress, so I'll pop a screenshot up here of what this one looked like. And it's just the beginning title page, which is essentially the same as the front cover there. And that was the one I decided to colour when I first got hold of this book. I decided to just copy the colour scheme of the cover, but I did change my mind on that, as you'll see in a minute. but that is how it was when I first started working on it. So I decided to finish that one off last month, and this is what we have ended up with. Again, the colour's a little bit brighter, I think. I think when I first got the book, as you'd have seen in the screenshot, I was sticking with a majority of Castle Arts, maybe a few Artisas, because I was on holiday at the time. That's what I took with me. But to work back into this, I took some of the Alberturas, which I had at the side of me there, because I just finished the Mouseguard picture. So I had my Albertura pencils out there, the watercolour pencils. I brought a few of those in, and some Prismacolors, because I really love the rich colours. I love the way those lay down. I'm really turning into a fan of Prismacolor pencils right now. And my original plan was to do both fish orange, as they are on the cover. I think both of the fish are orange on the cover. Oh, this one isn't coloured, but yeah, intended to be orange. We can see from the fins there. And my original plan was to copy both of the fish to be orange, but my other half gave me the idea. I know he does say that he's not artistic at all, but he does come up with some really good ideas. My other half gave me the idea maybe I could do some sort of metallic silver, more of a realistic colour of a fish on this one here. So I went with a silver Prismacolor pencil. I think these were Albertura that I used for the fins, these dark blues here. This one has got some white gel pen, some gold gel pen for going around these little circles here. Not entirely sure if I put some glitter on there. I'll see if I can bring it up, and there's a little bit of blue glitter, I think, on these kind of water drops here. That would just be the Dovecraft glitter glue, if I can get those. Yeah, we can see those glittering there on that orange fish's tail. That is the Dovecraft glitter glue that I brought in. Gold gel pen, white gel pen. Originally it was Castle Arts Artisa. I moved on to Prismacolor and Albertura, and I'm really quite pleased with how that's turned out, and it's always nice to get a work in progress actually finished. And speaking of works in progress, there is another one in this book that I've done a little bit of work on. It's not finished, but I did go in and do a little bit of extra work on it, and that one is this kind of honeycomb with the bees here. Originally I had done this bit in the middle, practicing doing a little bit of a patchwork technique, trying to make that look as if it was somewhat of a patchwork quilt maybe. And I thought maybe I could carry on that idea and go in and try and collage the bees into a little patchwork pattern. So yeah, I collaged in these bees, their wings, their bodies, and this little yellow bit of their body here. That's all paper collage, and then some black glitter gel pen for the little legs and antennae, all the rest of the bee's body there. So yeah, I think that's coming along quite nicely now. If we can get that black glitter glittering, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, they have got little glittery bodies, those bees. So that is coming along. I didn't actually work on and finish that one because I got a little bit distracted by other things, as I am prone to do. But yeah, really quite happy with how that one is coming along. Still a work in progress, but a little bit more work has been done on that one there. And those are both from the Circle of Life by Melpomeni Chatzipanagiotu. I did colour in quite a few Colouring Heaven colouring books this month. So this one is a Colouring Heaven. This one is the Element Special by Anne Stokes, I think this one is. Yeah, Anne Stokes. And this is one that I coloured for the challenge on the Colouring Heaven Facebook group this month. And the challenge was to colour a kind of festive, maybe Christmassy picture, but not to use any Christmas colours. And I'm not really one for colouring Christmas pictures, even though I did colour one this month for my random challenge. I'm not really one for colouring Christmas pictures. So I picked a picture and tweaked it a little bit to turn it into a Christmas picture. And I did take a bit of a scan of this one before I did go too far with my changing of it. So I'll pop this up here for what the picture originally looked like when I first started colouring in the sky. You can see I've just sketched in the little wings that I did add into this picture. But yeah, originally we had that forest going on in the background, and we weren't allowed to be using green or red for this challenge, so I had to be a little bit creative there and just get rid of that background. And I'll show you what I ended up coming up with. It was this lady here. And I think I have said before that the reason I haven't coloured in this issue of Colouring Heaven up till now is mainly the borders around the edges of the pictures. If I can show you, yeah, every page in this section that is the earth section, as it is the elements, every page that in the earth section has this border of leaves, which is all exactly the same pretty much on all the pictures, exactly the same leaves. And I didn't really want to be colouring that. I'm not much of a one for repetitive patterns, so I covered the border with washi tape. We have some snowflake stickers because I wanted it to be a kind of northern winter snowy scene, so I added in some of these snowflake stickers. markers. And then to get rid of the background, I just coloured all that over with a dark grey alcohol marker. I'm not sure if it's a neutral grey or a blue grey, but a grey that was dark enough to cover most of those lines in the background. I think we can still see them very, very faintly, but it covered most of the background of the trees there. I did add in these wings, and I went over those with acrylic marker, a white acrylic marker, a lot of white gel pen to try and get rid of the line art that was underneath there. And I turned this lady into the Angel of the Northern Lights, which is my idea for this page. She's kind of conjuring up the Northern Lights there. And it's only like the second time I've tried to do Northern Lights as a colouring effect, and I think this has worked really, really well. I'm really happy. That is just with Prismacolor pencils on top of the alcohol marker. I did do some stars with white gel pen. I did those. The moon I covered with acrylic marker, just with a layer of white. And then went in with a light grey, I think, and did this kind of cratery effect to make that look like a moon. The bottom here was all grass, as we saw in the original screenshot there. So I just went over most of that with white acrylic markers, white gel pen, a little bit of grey acrylic marker for the shadowy bits down the side. I tried to make the Northern Lights look as if they were shining onto the snow, and looking at it now, I think I probably need to bring in a little bit more pink onto that snow, but I have called her finished, so I'm going to leave her as she is. I added in these clouds just with Prismacolor pencils, I think, on top of that grey alcohol marker in the background. There's some silver gel pen for a crown, and a lot of these stick-on crystals here in the background for a little bit of an icy kind of crystal look on the background there. It's glaring a little bit in the lamp. Someone was running into this problem at the moment, but yeah, that is my Angel of the Northern Lights there. And that was super fun to do. I really do love changing pages and bringing my own little stamp to them. And yeah, obviously I don't like colouring trees anyway, so that was a little bit of a bonus, get to cover up all those trees in the background. That one is by Stokes, and that is from the Element Special Colouring Heaven. The next one is from Garden Lady. This is by Lana Green, and this one does have a little bit of a story to it. As I mentioned in my last Finished Pages video, this month we were taking our son around to various universities to see which one he'd be able to get into for next September. And this is one of the books I took with me while we were waiting for him to be done with his interview. We were sat in the canteen, and I'd taken this book with me and a set of Coloursoft pencils. So I got this one started while we were waiting in the canteen with a cup of coffee, and I'll show you what I actually did. I finished her off after I got home. And this is the lady we did end up with. I started off her skin, I think here, her face and her hair. I started that off in the actual canteen, along with a black ballpoint pen that was just in my bag. I used that in my colouring as well, mainly because I was struggling to get these pencils to give me a nice blended skin tone. So I brought in the black biro or ballpoint pen to give me a kind of sketchy effect, which I think has ended up working really well. This kind of collage bits here, you might be able to see the colour is very, very slightly different there. That is actually a napkin from the canteen, a clean napkin that I just picked up and brought home with me. I ended up ripping off a couple of corners of that, and I stuck that down on top of the picture. And the idea I had was to have these corners where the serviette or napkin is stuck down just as a black pen sketch, kind of fading into the colour in the middle. And the background of the colour here, I just did a wash of coffee to kind of remind us that I was there with my cup of coffee in the canteen, waiting for our son to have his interview. And he did actually pass his interview, which is, yeah, quite a celebration. And he got an unconditional offer. So next September, he is off to Gloucester University to study film production. So yeah, we're all super proud of him. He's really pleased. And yeah, it was a really nice day out, a bit of a long drive. And yeah, a lot of waiting around while he went for his interview and his tour around the campus. But it did give me a chance to get some colouring done, so it's all a bonus. And yeah, he actually ended up getting where he wanted to go, so we're all super happy and really pleased with how this picture has come out as well. I stuck with the Coloursoft pencils, brought in the white gel pen once I was home, and these are the stick-on crystals here. She had some strings of pearls and beads hanging down from her hair there. And yeah, probably a little bit of a different take on one of these pictures by Lana Green in this book here, but yeah, really pleased with how she's turned out. I do love the skin tone we've ended up with there, just from that little selection of the Coloursoft pencils. although I couldn't really get them to blend super well on that paper. But I think bringing in that ballpoint pen, going for the sketchy look is what I usually tend to do when I can't get pencils to blend really well, and I think that has worked out really well in the end. And oh yeah, before I do sign off, there is some gold gel pen. I did bring in some gold gel pen. That must have been after I got back home, but there is some gold gel pen as a frame around this border here that I think I drew in, and as a little bit of cross hatching here in the background. So yeah, that's a little story behind that picture there from Garden Lady by Lana Green. Next we're moving on to another Colouring Heaven. This is one that is a video on the channel. And as I mentioned in the video, this issue is an old issue that is out of print on the website at the moment. You can't actually order this one. And I managed to grab this one from eBay for a pretty good price because it was actually started already, as you can see from the cover here. I have worked into this cover a little bit, just to get a feel for what I might be able to do with it, and mainly on this lady's hair here, this lady's face and her hair there. I've worked on those little bits, but that was just to test out how I could actually go ahead and work into that one. The main picture in this one is inside the magazine, and this one had actually been coloured already with water-based markers. I'll pop a picture up here of what it looked like before I started working in it. And this one is a video on the channel showing how I went into that one, gave her a little bit of a makeover. I tried to stay as true as I could to the colours the original artist had chosen there, so I'll show you what we did end up with here. There we go, this is the picture that we have ended up with. There we are, and this one is a bit of a mixed bag of media on this one, if anyone has watched the video. Originally, as is my usual first choice when I'm working with a picture that's been coloured in water-based markers, I tried to bring in some water and dissolve out that ink for the leaves to give us more of a paler colour to be working with, maybe some watercolour effects. That wasn't really working. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't. So instead of spreading out the ink and getting some nice effects, I tried to dab off as much of the ink as I could. And then I went on top and shaded the leaves with pencil. I ended up bringing in some acrylic marker for these acorns, if I'm remembering right. I had to bring in a little bit of alcohol marker for this leaf here, which had been coloured pink. I used alcohol marker as well for the lady's skin to try and even out the skin tone a little bit. And I did go a couple of shades darker than was originally down, just to even out the pen marks there. I brought in some alcohol marker for the lady's dress as well. And again, I went a couple of shades darker there, I think, with that dress colour. I brought in a rose pink and shaded on top of that with pencil. Her hair, again, I shaded with pencil, brought in a black to try and unify all those colours there. I gave her more of a subdued kind of hair colour and neaten off the edges. I brought in some washi tape, which I was really super happy to find because it brought together all the colours that we would be using in this picture. There is orange and red and pink and purple and the green, which is all the colours that I would want to be using in this picture. There's a few stick-on crystals. Yeah, I do love my stick-on crystals. Fairy wings are a paper collage. I shaded a little bit on the page already as it was and brought in some paper collage with a kind of see-through kind of parchment paper, almost like tracing paper. And it had little silver sparkles on it, which I thought would work really well for the fairy wings. Are those showing up? We do have some silver sparkles on those wings. Yeah, we can see them there. We have some little silver sparkles going on her wings there. Some white gel pen for the line work. And the background, all this green. I wanted it to look as if she was in a forest because she is an oak fairy. So I brought in some gouache paint. I'm not entirely sure how to say that. I've always said gouache. I've heard it say gouache as well. So, but I'm sure you all know what I mean. And the edges were starting to get a little bit blobby there because I'd put too much water onto these leaves to try and mop up that colour. So I just went over the edges with a bronze Sharpie, I think, just to neaten everything up there. And we ended up making a few marks on the other side of the page, so I have stuck on some washi tape over onto the other side of the page, kind of a coppery bronze, maybe a rose gold, I'm not entirely sure. It matched enough for the purposes, I think, so I've brought in that washi tape just to neaten off the edges. And yeah, really super happy with how she's turned out there. That one is a video on the channel showing how I went ahead and gave that page a little bit of a makeover. Super happy with how she's turned out. I really love doing that kind of thing, working into pages that are already started. So yeah, that one was a really fun one to do. That one is from the Colouring Heaven Fairies and Friends special by Meredith Dillman. If I didn't mention that, that is Meredith Dillman. This next one is from Dreams of Dragons and Dragonkin by Ravynne Phelan. And in this book, this is one that I really love to go into with Super Tips, Crayola Super Tips as watercolour, because this paper takes that super well. You can just colour on the page with the Super Tip and then go in with water. And I was doing this in front of the TV because the other half and our son was watching something on TV I wasn't completely interested in. So I just picked up this book and started doing the Super Tip kind of portion of the colouring. And afterwards I went in with the water to blend everything out and see what I could make of it. And this is the one that we actually did. As I said, Super Tips with watercolour, and then I went in with coloured pencils, some acrylic marker for a few little bits here like the horns, but mainly just the Super Tip markers with some, I think there might be some gold gel pen around the outlines here, or a glitter gel pen rather. Looks like a purple glitter gel pen. This is the gold gel pen. Yeah, I knew I did it somewhere. This is purple around these areas. This is the gold, and for his mane I did the white. I tried to do a kind of galaxy effect in the background there. And again, as I'm using water media and the Super Tips, blending those out into a kind of ink, I did get some blobby edges. So I put in this washi tape kind of outline, which sort of fits because he is in front of the moon there. I put in this kind of moon phase washi tape around the outside with a bit of a Sharpie outline. I can see some glitter glittering away there. I think I added in some glitter there. And again, marks on the other side of the page. So I added in some washi tape there, just along that side of the page to hide the mess that was going on there. I'm not the neatest, I've always said that. But yeah, just hiding it with that washi tape. Same kind of colours as I used on this picture here. And that fitted in quite nicely, again with the sky theme. So yeah, really happy with him, considering he was just a little quick watching TV sort of doodly page that we had going on and making up my own little colours. Sometimes on these ones in here, I do like to look at Ravynne Phelan's original art and get a little bit of inspiration. But this one, yeah, I went ahead with my own colours and really pleased with how he's turned out. Almost like batik work, I think, especially with this mane here. So yeah, I think he turned out really nicely. And that one is from the Dreams of Dragons and Dragonkin book by Ravynne Phelan. Maybe moving a little bit fast here, but yeah, we do have a few to go through, still a few to go here. This one is the Colouring Heaven Garden Gnome special. This is by Ava Browne. And this is the one I ended up getting chosen for me by my random generator challenge, which is not one of my favourite issues. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times already. It's not one of my favourite issues. I wasn't looking forward to having to colour in this one. But I think we did make the best of a bad situation here. And this one is a video on the channel. And for this one, I decided to give a little bit of a Christmas twist to my random generator challenge. I decided that whatever picture that was picked for me, I would turn into a Christmas picture. I wouldn't pick any art supplies, which I usually do. I would use any art supplies that I wanted to try and turn into a Christmas picture. And the one that was chosen for us was from this one, the Garden Gnome special. And I'll show you what we ended up with. This one here, this one is a video on the channel. It's my latest random generator challenge episode. This one here, and we turned the picture into a Christmas scene. I can show you what we started with. We started with that one there. Little garden gnomes in the spring garden with the flowers, all that kind of stuff. And my challenge was to turn that one into a Christmas picture. And this is how we did it. And how we did that, for the gnomes in the middle, I turned them into Santa and Mrs. Claus as well as I could by changing their costumes very, very slightly, giving them these fur trims around the edges of their costumes there. And that was done with alcohol markers, coloured pencils and a lot of white gel pen to add these little fluffy edges. Then I moved them inside. I thought, seeing as they live in the North Pole, it would be a bit cold to be sitting outside having a cup of tea in the garden. So I moved them inside by turning the tree stump into this table with a tablecloth. That was a tree stump, as we can see there. A little bit of a tree stump. So I turned that into a coffee table or a little dining table with some paper collage. I removed all of the background, pretty much got rid of all those flowers and the garden scene. Just straighten up. Yeah, I got rid of the flowers and I made my own background out of some collage paper with wallpaper, these little snowflakes on there, and some collage paper with a kind of a wooden plank kind of design on it that I thought would make some quite nice floorboards. I added in the Christmas tree from an old Christmas card. These little gnomes here, little conch gnomes, those are from another little Christmas card. What else did I use? Oh, some acrylic markers for Santa's mug. I had to give him a mug with his name on it. And I think I used those for the polka dots on the teapot as well, just for a little bit of fun. And then I added in this window here from a design in an old kind of craft book that I had with this kind of square. I cut that out to be a window frame. I added in a snowy scene from yet another Christmas card. And this penguin was from the same card as these little gnomes. There was a little kind of waving penguin that I thought would be really cute peeking in through Santa's window there. And lastly, I turned this into Santa's Naughty and Nice list. I think it was originally a newspaper, but I turned that into Santa's Naughty and Nice list. Yeah, to go with that Christmas vibe we were aiming for, and super happy with how that one turned out. That one is a video on the channel kind of documenting the process, how we did actually change that picture from a spring scene that we have in the magazine there into this Christmas Santa and Mrs. Claus scene. And yeah, even though it is a Christmas picture, which is not something that I do usually colour, bringing in all that collage, changing up the picture, putting my own stamp on it, that was really, really super fun. I really did enjoy that. And yeah, quite happy with how that one turned out. And that one is from the Garden Gnome Special Colouring Heaven. That is by Ava Browne. Next, we're moving on to the Lunar colouring book. This one is by Stratten Petersen. And I did change this picture quite a bit, so I'll pop up a picture here of what it looked like when I was just starting to get coloured on it. I remembered to snap a picture before I got too far with my colouring on this one, and this is what it did look like with the background, the lines in the background there. I changed the corners. Those kind of swirly bits in the corners, I've changed those, I think. And we do have a moon in the middle of the picture. There is a moon. And as you can see there, this picture is portraying a couple of flamingos. And flamingos for me always bring the 80s to mind because I grew up in the 80s. And it was quite a big theme in the 80s to have flamingos with kind of tropical plant leaves everywhere, kind of Club Tropicana kind of pictures, or Miami style pictures with the flamingos and the palm leaves. So I went ahead and I played on that, and I really went full on 80s with this one. I'll show you what we did actually end up with. There we go, if I can just find that one. There we go, that's what we did end up with. And yeah, I did actually change this one quite a bit, so I'm quite glad I did snap a picture before I went too far. I did end up colouring over most of this background here with acrylic markers, again going for that kind of neon Miami sort of 80s vibe there. That was with acrylic markers. The flamingos I based with a fluorescent pink highlighter, which is probably not showing up super well in this light or on this camera, but yeah, the flamingos are bright neon highlighter pink. I did try and base these leaves with a neon highlighter as well, but the highlighters weren't working with the water as well as I would expect, because these kind of books, Long Press or something I think they're called, these kind of books, they do work quite well with these super tips as watercolour kind of idea, which is something I've played with quite a bit this month. But the highlighters were not dissolving as well as I would have liked. I did try, it didn't work very well. So I brought in the super tips for these flowers. I think that's mostly super tips, and for these bleeding heart flowers as well. I brought in a super tips and just blended that out. Worked on top with coloured pencils. I brought in some acrylic marker for this kind of light blue outline we have along the outside there, which is also a bit of an 80s thing. I have some gold for the centres of these flowers and for the spots on the leaves. And the leaves, yeah, I did actually add in. Those are from a clip art, which I've actually got in the back of the page here. This kind of clip art thing, which was free online. I printed out these little clip art leaves. I coloured those with alcohol markers. A little bit of gold for the spots, and then I cut those out, and then I cut a slit around the edge of this design here and slid the leaves in behind so that they kind of overlapped and hid those swirlies in the background. And I thought that gave me more of the 80s kind of neon effect that I was going for. I was quite happy with how that one was working. It did turn into a little bit of a labour of love towards the end, this one, because yeah, there's a lot of flowers, which is not something that I do tend to colour a lot of, and the leaves, yeah, all coloured exactly the same. Again, not something that I lean towards colouring quite a lot, but I'm really happy with the effect. For the moon in the middle, I did the same kind of thing as we did with the deer from my last finished pages video. I cut out the circle in the middle there, and then I replaced that with some glitter paper. If we can get that glittering, I'm not entirely sure. But that is glitter paper there in the background. Yeah, we can get that glittering. That is glitter paper in the kind of Miami sort of colours. I'll see if we can bring it in for a little bit of a detailed look, but there's not that much detail to be looking at, to be honest. I shaded the flamingos with a little bit of gold. I did some thick outlines around there. And some little stick-on crystals for their eyes. Those are just blue stick-on crystals for their eyes there. Yeah, really super happy with it. And it ended up looking completely, totally 80s, which is what I was going for. And yeah, kind of a bit nostalgic, that one. I'm really happy with him. So that one is from the Lunar colouring book by Stratten Petersen. Just pop those back in there. Get that out of the way. Lastly, for the finished pages this month, I worked a lot in this book here. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is a book that I got from a charity shop in really, really bad shape. I think it still has the price label on the back. Yeah, £2 there from a charity shop. It was in really, really bad shape. The pages were ripped. It was scribbled on by a young child. It had a hard life. And I picked that up, and my idea is to transform this book, fix it up as best I can, have it turned into something really nice, and give it a new lease of life kind of thing. I do have a flip through of how it looked like when I originally got it. The video isn't the best quality. It's very dark. It was filmed on my old tablet with my old setup. It was pretty early in the day, I think, so it was really dark. But I will link that down in the description so you can see a bit of a flip through of this book in its original state. I'm quite pleased with the work I managed to get done on it this month. The first page I worked on is the title page, kind of first page in the book. I'll pop a screenshot up here from the flip through that I've grabbed from the flip through and kind of brightened up a little bit so you can see what I was working with there. I'm not usually one for colouring in these kind of Zentangly books, so an added little bit of challenge for me is to cope with those Zentangle patterns that I find in there. Find a way to cope with them in my kind of style, give it my kind of stamp on it. But that is the title page there that I first started, and I'll show you how I did end up with that. Here we go. This is what we've ended up with. For this one I did start just using super tips to colour in some flat colour around these edges here. Then I went in with pencils over the top and just shaded these kind of leaves a little bit. There is a lot of gold gel pen that I've brought in for accents here. That's a gold glitter gel pen, just a really cheap one. If I can find one here, I'll show you. Yeah, just a really cheap glitter gold gel pen, nothing fancy. I was going around the edges there. Super tips again, pencil shading. I brought in paper collage because there were some swirly bits here around the edges that I couldn't really figure out what they were supposed to be. I'll show you on the back because this picture is the same as the back cover. Some of these swirly bits here, I couldn't figure out what they were supposed to be. So my aim is to find a way to colour these. So my idea was to bring it in the paper collage. So I brought in some patterned paper here, this kind of green spotty paper for some leaves. I brought in some flat gold coloured paper here. Added in a few green spots for these bits that I couldn't figure out what they were. And I brought in some paper collage with these butterflies. I thought that might make it look a little bit more foresty. I did add in a few extra leaves as well, the same kind of style of leaves as that flamingo picture we've just looked at, the same kind of style of leaves. These ones here are actually cut out and collaged in to make the border look a little bit fuller, a little bit more foresty in my mind anyway. So those are added in. I do have one little stick-on crystal there for the added jewellery there, because this is a book with search and find. Each page is supposed to have a little bit of jewellery added onto it. That was the jewellery for this page. I do have some little stickers, these flowers. I'm not sure if we can see those. I'll bring us up a little bit closer. These little flowers here, those are stickers. I've added those in. There's a few of those dotted around, yeah, over this side as well. What else? Oh, the background, this background here, that's chalk pastel. That's basically a few layers of chalk pastel, and then I've gone in with an eraser and I've erased some circles to give this kind of bokeh effect in the background. Again, to go with the idea I had of making it look more fuller, more kind of woodsy sort of looking. And yeah, really, really happy with how that's turned out, considering what I started with, and considering it's not a kind of page that I usually like to colour, and considering the state of the book in general. Then yeah, I was super happy with that one. And then I was on a roll. I wanted to work on this book, so I've done quite a few more in this book. I've coloured the next 2 pages, but I wanted to show them both separately because the actual nameplate I'm really especially proud of. So So I'm going to pop in this little piece of card here. There we go, so I can just show you one page at a time. The next page I coloured is the next page in the actual book. It's this one here. And with this one, I did have some super tips bleeding through. There was some colour bleeding through around the edges because I coloured the previous page with some super tips. And then I used chalk pastel in the middle. So I wanted to fix that page before I moved on. And when I fixed the page with the spray, these super tips bled through into the background here. Fortunately, it didn't bleed super much on the actual title page there. So all I had to do was cover up these blobs on the outside here. And how I did that, I aged the page by using some chalk pastel and then some gold gouache paints, which is quite opaque, so I thought it might help to cover up those blobs of colour we had bleeding through there. So pretty simple. All I did was age the page as I described and go over the outlines of the line art with a glitter brown gel pen from the Zebra Doodlers, I think they're called, gel pens. There was a brown colour in there that I thought worked quite well with what I'd actually done on the page. I added in a couple of butterflies there just to brighten it up and give us a little bit of colour there. I brought in some coloured pencils around the edges because the page was, is that visible on camera? I'm not sure. The page was wearing here quite a little bit because the cover is attached to this first page but not really to the rest of the book, if that is making sense. So we had a bit of a difficulty here actually colouring on that page originally, and it was giving us these creases. So I worked with those creases and tried to make it look like a really aged and ripped map or something, a piece of paper. If you can see those creases there, those are actual creases that I've just coloured in and made it look as if I've coloured them as creases, but they are actually creases there. And I added in a few more around the edges here. There we go, that's showing up around the edges here. I added in a few more just so they didn't look so out of place. And I splashed on some, I think that's brown gouache paint I splashed on there to again go with that aged look and give us some kind of mottling going on. And the jewellery for this page is the crown there. So yeah, that is that page. The next page is the nameplate page, and I will pop a picture up here what it looked like before I actually went ahead and worked on it. I did originally stick a piece of paper over the name of the original owner of the book, but I changed my mind on what I wanted to do with this page. So you can see in that picture there, I have tried to peel it off, which wasn't working. So I had to work around that as well as working around the whole nameplate page. And those delicate little flowers there, that little heart around the outside, isn't something I would usually colour. So after thinking on that for a while, what it reminded me of was when people carve into tree bark and they carve hearts into tree bark with initials. I'm sure we've all seen that online or in pictures where people have carved their initials into an actual tree. So that is the idea that I wanted to go with for this. And here's the big reveal. I'm really proud of this page. Here we go. I really love this page. So as I said, what I wanted to do was play on the idea of carving into a tree bark, which isn't something you really should be doing, but it is a kind of common motif, and I wanted to play on that. So what I thought was the original artist had come along and carved their name into the tree, and because I bought the book and now I'm working on it, I took this piece of collage paper, like a wooden plank there, and I made it look as if I'd nailed my name over the original artist there. Yeah, they've carved their name into the tree, so I've nailed mine over the top with this wooden plank here, and yeah, that was the idea I had. I was super proud of. The background I basically just painted with gouache paint, painted out all those delicate flowers there. There were some little bits around the edges here that I couldn't actually cover up with the paint. They still kept showing through. So I collaged on some leaves there. And those were from a Linda Ravenscroft fantasy art calendar that I've had hanging around for a few years. I think it's actually from 2018. I can show you the rest, the remains of the page I have left. So you can see where I actually got them from. Yeah, from this page here, I cut out some leaves from her headdress and from this little corner here. And I used those on my page. And yeah, it did make me a little bit sad to be cutting out this page here because I do love Linda Ravenscroft's art. But yeah, my walls are pretty full at the minute. I have no room to be putting anything else up. And I thought I might as well make use of it while I actually have it instead of keeping it stuck in a drawer. So I went ahead and cut out those bits there. These bits here are also taken from that calendar page. I wanted to fill up a little bit of space. I added in this kind of jewel diadem that was on the fairy's head there from that painting. I added that in. Another little couple of leaves there, and a butterfly as well to go with that kind of woods, Tangle Woods theme that we have running through the book. And again, fill up a little bit of space. Yeah, the background, as I said, gouache paint with a little bit of pencil shading. Hopefully I'm not going out of focus there. Some collage leaves stuck on, and yeah, super proud of that page. I really love the idea. And I did try and make this look as if it has been painted with spray paint or something, with the drips running down. I have my own name spray painted on there. So yeah, enough rambling about that page. I'm really super happy with that one. And the next page I worked on in this book had been started very slightly. I will pop up an image here of what the next page looked like before I worked on it. And this one had a bird, I think, in the corner with a gingerbread house, a really detailed gingerbread house in the background there. There's leaves and plants around the outside, I think some trees, and some fiddly little plants in the bottom right corner there. So yeah, that is what I was working with. That is a scan I took after I first started testing my acrylic markers on the top of the bird's head there. So that red is actually covering some orange or pink that was underneath there. And I'll show you what we went ahead and ended up with on this one. Really happy with this one as well. There we go, that's what this one ended up like. Again, with this one, I went with a Christmas theme because of the gingerbread house and because of the bird. I coloured him as a red cardinal, I think they're called. They appear a lot on Christmas cards from America, from what I've seen. I think he's the kind of equivalent of the British robin, the Christmas robin that we have on all our cards. The kind of red and brown bird that we have on all our cards here in the UK. He seems to be the equivalent of that, so I coloured him as the red cardinal, went for the Christmas theme again. I covered up most of the detail on the gingerbread house with acrylic markers and tried to add a little bit of texture to make it look as if it was actually gingerbread. I covered up again the detail on the roof slates here, that with a white gel pen and with white and grey acrylic markers, going for the icing look on that gingerbread house. But I still wanted it to look as if it was a decorated gingerbread house. So after I covered up everything there, I added on some more collage bits here, and I'll see if I can find the page that I cut those bits out of. I did use a few pages here from a colouring book that I keep specifically for collage because it's not something I really would be colouring in otherwise. And it's this book here, this Colour Me Peaceful Creative Art Therapy, which is not something I'd usually colour. It's mainly kind of clip art, images, Shutterstock, that kind of stuff. But it came in a job lot on eBay with a book that I did want, so I have kept it and I use it as collage. And the pages that I brought in to be making this image here, I used this one, which is a little kind of village scene. I cut out these windows. You can see one there that I actually left in the page. Windows from this house I coloured in with acrylic marker and pencil. I cut those out and I stuck them onto my gingerbread house here. Then I added in the circles that I've turned into little gumdrops. Those were from this page here. You can see I've cut out the circles. Yeah, I could have drawn my own onto normal paper, just drawn with a circle stencil, but I went ahead and cut out from this page just for quickness and making things easy for myself. I coloured those in with marker and pencil, did a lot of little white highlights to turn them into gumdrops. And I popped those in there for these little circles. The hearts here, those are heart stickers that I just popped on and did a few little dots to turn them into little heart-shaped gumdrops, which I think has worked quite well. The trees around the outside, I think they were supposed to have apples or some sort of fruit growing on them there, but I turned those into Christmas baubles on the tree using red, green and gold, which I think has worked quite well. There was some kind of colouring along this tree here, which I've gone over with acrylic marker, shaded on top with pencil. I've turned this area here into more of a snowy scene. I think this was grass maybe here. The only bit I couldn't figure out how to change to my Christmassy theme was this little clump of mushrooms here on the tree, or fungus of some sort. I couldn't figure out how to fit those into the theme, so I just coloured them in gold, and I thought maybe they'd blend in and not look super obvious. I cut the candy canes from a Christmas card and I've popped them in as if they were kind of growing out of the ground or something there, just to fill up the space again, because it looked a little bit odd with nothing there. And this snowman here with his Merry Christmas sign is covering up the plants that were in this bottom corner, mainly because I didn't want to be colouring them. Let's be perfectly honest, I didn't want to colour them. There were some little fiddly kind of fern-shaped plants I think we had going on here. I didn't want to colour them. I didn't think they fit into the Christmas theme, so I found something on a Christmas card that I thought I could pop over there and make fit into the theme. So I went for this snowman with his Merry Christmas, and I think that's fitting into the whole vibe of the picture really well. I'm not sure there's anything else I need to mention. Acrylic markers, pencils, look, paper collage again. And I stuck some gold washi tape down the side here, which is coming off. But yeah, this is gold washi tape down the side here because this page is torn. We can see there that page is torn, held together with masking tape at the moment. So I have to figure out how to be fixing that. But I figured a little bit of gold tape down the side there would hide any rips or tears, make it a little bit easier to work into maybe, and works quite well with my theme of the page. Yeah, a lot of pages in this book are torn and I'm having to work around that. And speaking of which, the next one was actually a torn page. I will pop up a screenshot here from the flip through video. So yeah, I've just took that out of the video and brightened it. This is what the page originally looked like. You can see there it is ripped down the side, quite a substantial tear there going down the side of the page. That was something I had to work with both sides of that page to get something going on, and I think I've coped with that pretty successfully. So I'll move on and show you what I actually did with that page. And both sides of that page, actually, that would make a lot more sense. Yeah, this is the back of the page, and the tear was around here. And on this side of the page, this is actually a video on the channel as well, showing how I fixed this page. But what I did here was stick on some paper, collage paper, kind of parchmenty colour to cover up the majority of that tear. You can still see it a little bit on the actual bird. Can I make it show up? You can see it here a little bit on the bird. Just through his chest there. But it's not too obvious, I don't think. So it's something I can actually live with there. And that's how I coped with the tear on that side of the page. And on the other side of the page, if you'll remember the owl, this is what I've done. There we go, hope the colours are showing up well. Again, I sticky taped or masking taped the tear here as best as I could. And I decided to actually repair that page, make it all stuck together. I'd go in with collage again. I do love playing with collage. And this time, all I did was find some areas of colour from magazines and books and stuff, and I just ripped them up into little pieces, and I tried to match the similar kind of tones or shades of colour together and get a little bit of a blend coming here as if it's just becoming night or just becoming morning, kind of a dusk twilight maybe sort of theme in the background there, because we do have a little owl, if you remember from the original. I popped that up again, the original. In case we've forgotten, this is the original that I was working with, and we did have an owl in the tree there. And I did try and keep as much to the original as I could, even though I covered up the whole of the page with these ripped strips of paper. Just lots of different pieces from books and magazines. We do have bits of sea, I think, little bits of text there we have going on. And for the tree, a lot of this is part of a baked pie, a picture of a pie that I found that was baked, like a chocolate tart. This is the chocolate part and this is the crust. So yeah, just to point that out. We have somebody's hair in there. We have some pictures of a sunset sea with this brown here. Just any kind of tones or bits of image that would fit in with the brown that I wanted to do for the tree. I stuck those on, gave a little bit of a white outline there. And there was originally a butterfly or moth hanging down from that tree branch, so I cut out a butterfly and popped that on. That is from another old colouring book with illustrations of butterflies, so yeah, I popped him on. These leaves are from collage paper. I thought they were matching quite well with the colour scheme, and again there was originally leaves on those branches. I'm not sure they're in exactly the right place, because by the time I was sticking those on, the whole page was covered and I couldn't remember. And there was a little bit of jewellery on this branch that I've made up a little bit of jewellery there with my own little bug, with a kind of shaped jewel there from a book on jewellery, costume jewellery, and some little wings I made and added on. I think those were from collage paper as well, to make my own little bit of jewellery. And of course the owl, I cut him out from a RSPB magazine about the countryside. There was a kind of an illustration of an owl, so I cut him out and kind of patched him in with a piece of this black paper here to give him his little hidey hole. I added in lots of white gel pen kind of doodling here on the tree to fit him in with the trees from the rest of the book, and yeah, super happy with how I managed to actually fix that page. And yeah, that is how my project is going with that book. I am really super fired up for it at the moment, so I thought I'd make the most of it and do a few pages, and that's what I've managed to get done so far. Really happy with how it's going. That is Tanglewood, which is by Jessica Palmer. I'm not sure I mentioned that. That is by Jessica Palmer. That is my project book I'm working on fixing up and having something decent to be looking through at the end of the day. So hopefully I can work some more on that and get that finished this year, maybe, with a bit of luck. It is a small book, so that is possible, maybe. Okay, Tanglewood by Jessica Palmer. And the last one I'm going to show you this month is from one of the new books I had for Christmas. This is a Dungeons and Dragons colouring book, which is awesome. And I really do love this book. I have started one picture in here, but it's still in kind of a work in progress stage because the background is kind of landscape with trees and rocks and that kind of stuff. And anyone who watches the channel knows that I don't colour that kind of stuff. I specifically don't like colouring trees. There is trees in the background, but I really wanted to colour this picture, so I'm working on it in dribs and drabs and bits and bobs and just working on it when I get the chance. And this is the picture here. The Displacer Beast, for anyone who is familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. I've started working on him there. I did look up the original art for this picture, but by that time I'd already started doing my own colours because I started it on Christmas at the mother-in-law's and I didn't have any internet to be looking up any pictures. So I've started my own little colour scheme there. Really happy with how he's going. The trees were, yeah, a bit of a labour of love for me because I really don't like colouring trees, but I am super happy with how they are coming out there. And as I said, lots of grass, lots of trees, lots of background and landscape there, but I'm trying to do a little bit of background, a little bit of creature, have a little bit of a break when I feel like I need one, and happy with how it's going so far. But those are all the pages that I've coloured or started in December of 2024, and now we're actually into 2025, and this year is the year of a snake. So for January, I'm not going to go full on as a theme for snakes because I know lots of people don't really like snakes. I will try and colour a couple of pictures with snakes in them, try not to make them super scary. But I do want to colour a couple, as it is a year of the snake in kind of honour of the Lunar New Year there. I'll try and find some that are not too super scary. Maybe I can show you guys colouring a few pictures of snakes there. Last year I did make a kind of a resolution to be working and trying to finish at least half of my whips. I have failed miserably with that. I did manage to get quite a few done, more than I thought I would. I'll try and make a video a little bit later showing all the works in progress I did actually manage to finish during 2024. But out of the 64 works in progress I started with, I finished around 18 or 20, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to do the video and count them all and find out. But yeah, I'm going to keep on going with that. I'm going to be working on the whips as much as I possibly can, get those under control, try not to make any more. I think I did end up making a couple more last year as well, but I'll count those in another video, as I said. And also, mainly because I'm kind of fired up for it for the moment, I want to work a lot more on the Tanglewoods book and try and get something going with that. Maybe even finish it, I don't know. That's probably asking too much. But yeah, those are my resolutions for 2025. Where, again, keeping with working on the whips. I'm not going to set myself a limit this time because trying to do half of them last year, yeah, I did fail. So I'm just going to work on them as much as possible. Work on my Tanglewoods book. And colour a couple of snakes for January for the Lunar New Year. So yeah, that's about all I've got to say for this video, and it's probably going to be a bit of a long one, so sorry for keeping you all so long. Thank you all so much for watching, if you have stuck with me to the end. Take care, have a very happy and healthy new year, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye.